Hello and welcome back to yet another meticulously inspiring episode of Smart Talks by Lincoln University of Business Management. My name is Aman Iqbal Ibrahim and I'll be your host for today's episode. Leadership, once a rigid and a top-down concept, is undergoing a profound transformation. The traditional hierarchies and command and control structures are making way for a more collaborative, inclusive and adaptive approach to leadership. The demands of the 21st century, with its technological advancements, global interconnectedness, and diverse workforces, require a new set of leadership skills and principles. And who better to guide us along this path than the wonderful Nicki Bedford? A dynamic business leader, founder, mentor, and presenter specializing in sales strategy and execution, Nicki's expertise lies in the driving business growth, from executing leadership roles in both startups and large companies. As the former head of region at BuzzFeed for Asia Pacific and vice president of commercial development at a Dubai-based social media startup, Nicki understands what it takes to build a thriving business. Fueled by her passion for women's empowerment, Nicki founded She Leads the Way to provide a platform for women across the globe to thrive in business and everyday life. Her visionary leadership and dedication to giving women the right platform are transforming the industry, inspiring, entertaining, and fostering inclusivity. Welcome to our podcast, Nicki.
Thank you so
much.
How
are you doing today?
I'm very well. I'm happy to be here.
Perfect. Absolutely. We're happy to have you here as well. Firstly, before we go ahead, could you tell us a bit more about yourself and your leadership background?
Yes, absolutely. I'd love to. So if we think about my leadership background, or even taking a few steps back, my career began when I actually started in the hotel industry. And then I progressed into events, and then I made my move into the media industry, which was interesting because media has had so many changes. When I first moved into media, newspapers were huge. In fact, they were big, but they were being phased out. TV was king, and essentially it was the only space that you would advertise and reach an audience that you were after. And then I saw the impact and the changes into social media, which was extravagant. In terms of my leadership experience, I've started in sales. I moved into sales leadership and business leadership, and my experience extends to both startup environments as well as larger companies. So one of my first sales management roles was at a social media startup based in Brisbane in Australia. And then I moved into being a sales director, and then I was head of region. So I ran the region across Asia Pacific for BuzzFeed, based out of Sydney. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is during my career, I have witnessed firsthand, I've had good leaders and I've had bad leaders, and I saw firsthand the impact of what good leadership provided and what bad leadership provided. So it was paramount for me to ensure that I exhibited those positive characteristics when moving into leadership myself.
Absolutely. Amazing. And it just goes to show, there are people who might just, jump around and stuff, but you've climbed the ladder. You've done every role that can be done to get to that position that you're at right now. And that's amazing. That's inspiring.
Thank you. That was always my goal, actually. I've always loved being a part of the corporate environment, and it was important for me to climb the corporate ladder. So I was always thinking of ways, how is it that I'm able to progress? What is it that I need to do? What is it that I need to learn in order to do that? So thank you.
Perfect. What are the key characteristics? Of course, the podcast episode today is about the New Age Leadership Blueprint. So what would you say are the key characteristics that would define a New Age leader, and how would they differ from a traditional leadership model?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I'll start with traditional leadership. And I guess that sort of traditional leadership relies on that control and authority. They're a little bit more resistant to change, and the leadership style can lean more into that fear and intimidation in some cases. From a positive perspective, they are also instilled in having that pride and tradition of the role, which leans into, that leadership and also its followers or the team. If we think about New Age leadership, it's very much about teamwork and collaboration. It's about strength and support. Being a New Age leader of today, you're highly adaptable. You are open to change. You embrace technology. But most importantly, you have a high level of emotional intelligence, and you're an innovator. So, being a New Age leader today is reflective of how much the times have changed. And I guess for me, some of the key characteristics that define a great leader of today would be, first and foremost, I just mentioned it, it's high emotional intelligence, which also encompasses having a high level of empathy and being quite vulnerable. So this means that you have really great social skills, you're incredibly self-aware, and you're empathetic. The importance of having that level of awareness is paramount because it allows you to understand your team better and what motivates your team, and therefore what allows you to build and get the most success out of your team. Absolutely. It's paramount. The second is being an exceptional communicator. So effective communication and effective leadership are intertwined. Great leaders are skilled communicators, and it allows there to be absolutely no misunderstanding as to what needs to be done or how to progress. When it comes to communication, if you're a great communicator, the most important thing to do as a leader is explain what the vision is of the business, and to do that well. So what does success look like? What is the big picture? And ensuring that people are getting extremely excited about it. It's one thing to be like, okay, well, we need to do X, Y, and Z, but really embodying what that means and being able to bring people on the journey is paramount. Sure. So first is vision. The second is setting direction. So once you have a clear understanding of what the vision of the business is, what's the bigger picture, what does success look like? It's about implementing what are the processes or steps that we need to take in order to get there as a team, sure. And what is my role? What is each of the team's role in order to get there? So typically it's the vision, and then so what does success look like? And then you start working backwards. The third one in communication is being able to deliver constant feedback. Absolutely. So this is incredibly important. So I think what differs between traditional leadership and new age leadership is traditional leadership, it's what you're doing wrong. So in some cases, it's like, this is how you need to improve. With new age leadership, it's actually very much a 360. So it's ensuring that you're giving that constructive feedback and also being able to give them support in how they need to progress. It's about giving good feedback, so ensuring that you're celebrating the successes. But it's also, as a leader, taking on that feedback from your team. How can I better support you? How can we better work together towards success? So those three things for me.
Absolutely. I guess it's as the adage goes, a leader is the one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Absolutely. And it's just interesting that you point out, once you have a clear vision of where you want the business to get to, then you start delegating and you make sure
Absolutely.
that it's kind of like when they teach you basic first aid, where like, okay, if there's a person collapsed on the ground, you go to them first, and then you point at people and tell them, you go call the cops, you go call the ambulance, you do this, you do that, and that is something that sometimes you do need that firm push, but like you said, it's more of a 360.
Yeah, absolutely. The third point actually is having the desire to lead. So a key characteristic is actually wanting to be a leader. I see so many times that people move into leadership roles because that they believe it's the logical next step. Absolutely. But being a leader carries with it such a huge responsibility. So if you don't like people, or if you don't like giving direction, or if you don't like having to have difficult conversations or making big decisions, then this really isn't the space for you. And it's worth considering, just because this isn't a space for you doesn't mean that you can't excel within the business, but it's very important that those are areas that you want to work and improve on to be a leader yourself.
Absolutely. You got to be a leader because you want it, not just for the LinkedIn profile or something.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And you can thrive in so many different roles. Additionally, you need to lead by example. Absolutely. I always like to say that if you are leading and no one is following, then you are simply taking a walk. Yes. And
Very true. Very true. Okay, so with respect to this new age leadership, could you share some practical strategies? You've told us what is needed. Now, could you just move on to the how of the practical strategies for fostering innovation and adaptability within an organization, which are often associated with new age leadership?
Absolutely. So being innovative and highly adaptable is paramount in the day of today. So if you're not spending particular attention in these areas, you will simply fall behind. There are a couple of things that I like to do with my teams to ensure that we are ahead of the curve here. The first is embrace experimentation. So really creating a culture that values experimenting and trying new things. So there is so much technology, which I know we're talking on technology a little later, but there are so many different ways that you can progress within the business. Sometimes people feel, oh, I don't want to fail. You need to fail.
Absolutely.
We need to figure it out and you need to learn quickly. So for me, it's about failing quickly and then learning from it.
Absolutely.
One thing that I did with my teams is we created specific teams that would look after different areas. So being a great leader means have this ability to assign ownership, because when you feel like you own something, you've got that additional responsibility and you're more likely to really run with it. Some of the teams that we would assign support groups are things like social media, technology, DE&I, so diversity, equity, inclusion, and they're areas that you pick peers within your organization to specifically specialize in these areas. So not only are they keeping ahead of the curve or abreast with what the trends are, they also have the ability to come back and communicate this with the broader team, which is incredibly important because not only does it help you keep up to date, but it gives that responsibility to your team as well to find that important.
Very true.
The second is rewarding failure and success. And I start with failure because if you're failing, it means you're trying. The only thing with rewarding failure is you need to reward it quickly and then move on and learn from it. We need to make sure that we're learning from the failures. And naturally, we reward the successes as well. But if you're creating an environment that values experimentation, you have to be willing to fail because not everyone has all of the answers. And as a leader, it's about empowering your team to look beyond what they can see on a piece of paper. It's like, okay, how are we going to get here as a team? Absolutely. Or let's try something new, and what does that look like? So it's in addition, it's having that awareness, the open communication to be able to ensure that you're driving that train in the right way. And then rewarding success is a no-brainer. If we say that we're going to do something, we achieve it, then naturally we need to celebrate the wins as well. And then the third one is having diverse teams. So this may seem like a no-brainer, but it's so important to have teams that have different backgrounds, different perspectives, different skill sets, because when you have this, you are able to drive innovation because everyone thinks differently. So everyone comes to the table with something different, and then we're able to build really exciting projects and next steps as a result.
Very true. It's like... I guess the saying is there's no failure, there's only feedback.
Yes,
so
we love feedback.
You reward that, it's absolutely. Now, in the context of new age leadership, how do you see the role of technology evolving, and what should leaders do to stay ahead of the curve?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are not embracing technology as a leader or as a business, you will simply fall behind. It is the fastest moving thing that we have. If I think about back in my career when I first started, I was in sales, and to know when a contract came in, we had a fax machine. So when the fax machine rang, everyone within the team looked towards the fax machine to be like, whose contract's coming in? It was a source of joy. But now we think about, you can receive a signed contract on your phone through any app in real time. The importance of keeping abreast of what's going on in technology is paramount, and it's about finding ways to leverage technology so that you are becoming more productive, not thinking that it's not working against it. If we think about technology from a media perspective, the likes of social media, we were only talking about this before. Yeah. The evolution of media. Print, TV, radio, and then online and social media absolutely took over. If we look at social media alone, Facebook was a huge thing. We uploaded all of our photos onto albums. Then we moved to Instagram, which is still pretty big. TikTok emerged. And, Twitter was also a really big thing, X, within the news space. And is sort of deteriorating in front of our eyes. for businesses, it's really important to understand how to use these platforms. But as a team, it's really important to keep at the forefront of exactly how they're able to use this to their benefit. In addition to that, naturally AI. I don't think anyone has an interview these days without mentioning AI, but it is so important to utilize this to your advantage. I do hear people saying, AI, it's going to take my job. It's not. It's absolutely not. We need to work for it. AI has been a part of this world for such a long time. And now it's starting to be integrated within our day-to-day lives in a bigger way from a work perspective. So it's about how do we leverage this. We've leveraged AI within my team previously in you're able to identify what are the highest performing verticals, what advertisers are spending the most historically based on data, and then you use that information to build out your go-to-market strategy. So it's finding ways to become much more efficient. From a business perspective, with She Leads the Way, I utilize AI to I take my MP3 from my podcast interviews and then I transcribe them. And then so I can put it into AI and it'll tell me a summary of the episode.
Absolutely.
It's just about working smarter, not harder, because those are tasks that if something else is doing it, you're able to spend your time in more high-level strategy or take areas to take the business forward. So being able to communicate this and empower your team to utilize technology in the best way is the most important thing, and knowing that it is always going to evolve. It's always going to evolve.
Absolutely. It's just it feels like, now we hear there's an AI for everything. And it was just yesterday I came across an AI app that counts your ums and uhs while you're speaking.
Oh, gosh.
And it records certain snippets of your speech and it gives you feedback. And it grades you on a scale of 1 to 100 about on fluency, on ums and ahs and everything, so, and it's incredibly intuitive. So at this point we've gotten an AI for everything, and like you said, people keep fearing that AI is going to take our jobs, but if anything, AI is going to lead to more jobs.
Yeah, I
because
agree.
they're still going to need people to make sure the AI is functioning properly, because AI is created by us in this sense, so absolutely people don't need to worry about that. And absolutely, as you said, leaders, the new age leaders would be amiss if they didn't try to integrate AI into their projects and their businesses as such.
So firstly, I need that app because sometimes I don't realize how many R's and ums I'm saying. But secondly, I completely agree. It is about being able to integrate that with the team.
Very true. Now, with recent years, before, of course, there wasn't as much accessibility to resources such as LinkedIn, and it's basically Facebook but for your job. And in this case, as LinkedIn started growing more and more prominent, the concept of personal branding got more and more prominent. And in recent years, it's been as important as ever. Could you explain the importance of personal branding in leadership and provide some tips for aspiring leaders to build and maintain a strong personal brand?
Yes, absolutely. So personal branding is so important, especially in new age leadership. Sure. Everything that you do, everything that you say, how you behave is a direct reflection of your personal brand. When you think about personal branding from a leadership perspective, it really helps you to drive additional trust and credibility of your own brand, but also the brand of the company that you're working for. So it is important. I speak to people about personal branding, and one of the things they say to me is, this has happened at work and this is how people see me and I think I'm just going to leave. Or they think that they're not able to change their personal brand, but actually with every conversation, with everything that you do is contributing to your personal brand. It is worth noting that everything that you're saying, you can help change your personal brand, but the way that people see you contributes to your reputation. So that is something that's worth noting. When it comes to your personal brand, it's so important these days because, there is just so much saturation. Mm-hmm. People believe or build trust with individuals now over companies. So if you're a business leader within a company, they'll likely Google you or search you first to see if you are someone that they want to do business with. But as a leader, it is just so important to ensure that you are on top of your personal brand so that you can ensure that you're essentially building out the reasons why people should know you. So whenever I work with people on personal branding, first of all, we start about like, what do you want to be known for? What are you here for?
True.
What is your niche? What is the topic that you want to be talking about? What do you want to educate people on? And then you have to think about what are the spaces that you need, where are the spaces that you need to show up? Well, first of all, it needs to be in the spaces that people are spending most of their time. Naturally, social media plays an incredible part of this. In the business world, it's a no-brainer that people should be showing up on LinkedIn, and it is becoming, or it is a great way for you to get your personal brand out there, as a minimum by creating articles that align with the topics that you're talking about. Providing value is incredibly important, but also mentioning, events that you're going to, collaborating with other people, commenting on other people's posts as well. Sure. Because I think the end goal with your personal brand is you also want to appear as a thought leader. So you can only do that if you're able to give your opinion and your 2 cents.
Exactly.
I've spoken to some people and they're like, where do I start? I don't know. Being a thought leader, do I really know? Yes, of course you do. If you're a leader, then you absolutely have knowledge on, first of all, the industry that you're in. You're a leader for a reason.
Exactly.
So start there. And I would think about, what are the 3 areas within the industry or 3 areas that you want to be known for, and then start creating content around those 3 areas. And as a starting point, it could just be articles if you're not comfortable in front of camera. But as we know, it's 2023. Video is incredibly important.
Absolutely.
If you're not comfortable in front of video, it's not paramount. You don't want to, It
could be a voiceover.
Could be a voiceover. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It could be a voiceover reading your article to people.
Yes, absolutely.
But no, LinkedIn is very important. Being on social media is very important. But I think the one thing for me with building your personal brand is, we think personal brand, it's all about me, but also it's about how you can help and give back to others. What value is it that I can help people with? What do I want to be known for? Well, what is the problem that I can help people solve? And then with your team, help nurture your team so that they're being known for something as well. What is it in their own personal development? How can we help them show up more on LinkedIn and then other social media areas? Because you'll get more out of them, and it'll also be really beneficial for the business as well. The final thing, I guess, with personal branding is, it is something that you can work on every single day. It's in the long term. Absolutely. It's not something that you have to think, okay, personal branding, let's get this done today. No, it's the long term. So just think about what do you want to be known for? What are the skills that you have, and how can you show up as yourself every single day in order to demonstrate that?
Absolutely. And what stood out to me is the fact that you said, you find 3 things that you can, market yourself around.
Yes.
And it's always, make sure that you get it to a point where if someone asks, okay, who is this and what is this person about? They can mention these 3 things specifically.
Exactly.
And it's just the best way to exemplify who you are as a person. Absolutely. It's a very, very perfect statement there. And finally, of course, new age leadership. It, like you'd said, it involves a more holistic approach, specifically to well-being and including mental and physical health. So how can leaders prioritize the well-being of both themselves as well as their teams while achieving business objectives?
Yes. So if you have a happy, healthy team, then they're more likely to drive results for the business. If you have a team that is stressed, they're overworked and they're burnt out, then they're not going to drive results for you at all. It's so important that as a leader that you are aware of what it is that your team is after. We have implemented, flexible working environments ever since COVID. I know the big C word. No one likes to talk about it anymore. But, before COVID, it was, this is the way that we do business. And then the whole world turned upside down, and we needed to become more flexible. We needed to become more empathetic, and the importance of well-being came to the forefront. And I'm so, so glad it did, because it really demonstrated that not everyone works the same. People are productive in different ways. And if we can spend more time understanding the needs of our team members, then we're able to adjust the schedule accordingly. Flexibility can look like remote work part-time remote work, part-time remote work, part-time working from the office. It could look like 100% remote work. I know, coming from a creative background, having the team in the office even at least 1 to 2 days a week helps, because you can tap people on the shoulder and be like, what's going on with this client? Or, it's a little bit more collaborative. But absolutely, the remote work environment works too. A couple of things that we did to ensure that we were enhancing the well-being of the team, first and foremost, is just being aware. So having open conversations and asking the team specifically, how would you like to work? Because if you don't ask them, how are you to know? And you find that some people will say, yeah, I would prefer to work at home, or I need this, I need that. We implemented mental health days. Once a month we had a mental health day. So you could choose any day of the month and you'd take that off. And, it wasn't considered a sick leave, or it was just a mental health day. It's like, okay, I need to leave. So that you have organizations that have fitness memberships, but it's also just about promoting that work-life balance.
Absolutely.
With traditional leadership, it was always about work, and talking about your home life was usually frowned upon. You weren't able to be emotional in any way in the workplace. And it was, 9 till 5, boom, we're here to work. It's changed so much in that your work life and your home life, they're so closely integrated that being able to be emotional is okay. Being able to be vulnerable is okay. In fact, in order to get the most out of people, you want them to feel like they can be themselves. So first of all, creating that level of awareness, asking your team, well, how is it that you'd like to work, and trying to build out schedules that work for the team in the best way possible, and being more flexible with that.
Absolutely. And we've come to the end of all the questions that we have.
I'm just having so much fun.
Thank you. Right back at you. Absolutely. And with that, that's what it's all about. As the adage goes, as we said during the recording, a leader is the one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. And what we've witnessed over the past several minutes is this adage exemplified. As our world preps to take in the latest generation of changemakers, it's increasingly important for the existence of a blueprint for efficient and meaningful leadership. And with our conversation here today, I have no doubt we have one. Thank you so much for your time today, Nicki. To our listeners, if you would like to share your own experiences or ask questions, feel free to reach out to us on LUBM Middle East on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and we can continue the conversation online. Until next time, I've been Aman Iqbal Ibrahim, and stay smart with Smart Talks, powered by Lincoln University of Business Management. Thank you, and have a great day ahead.
Bye.